Welcome to another episode of the Back Catalogue podcast. This is the podcast where we, and by we I mean me, Alpo, my co-host / co-founder Vincent. We dive into the streaming service. We tell you, the listener and the viewer, what is worth it and what is not. And today is a day to remember. And we here at the podcast are people to remember. So we are doing 73's very own, the Wicker Man.
Bro, we're talking corn rigs and barley rigs. That's what we're talking today.
Dude, what a banger to start.
Jeez.
You know, you're flying into somewhere in the Scottish Isles and you're listening to corn rigs and what was it called?
Corn rigs and barley rigs.
Corn rigs and barley rigs?
That's what I was hearing.
You know you're in for a movie. You know, you see a really angry British, I don't actually know if he was British, you know, because people get mad if you say someone's British, but they're not British.
Because Britain is not that whole area.
It is not that whole area because people will think that. People will assume that.
Yeah. People on podcasts that aren't as memorable as ours would think that.
Yeah. And, you know, this is 1973's very own. You know, there was a novel based on this, called The Ritual. And that will be remembered. And also The Wicker Man will be remembered.
Yeah. So
we'll see if this podcast will be remembered. But we got the facts here right for you right now. The 7.5 out of 10 on the IMDb, the 90% on the Rotten Tomatoes. It had a budget of £500,000 or £471,000. Not maybe, like it's one of these
either one
two.
Or that.
Yeah.
So someone told him 500 and someone told him 417.
Yeah, dude.
And they don't have any more information. I mean that's corn rigs and barley rigs. You know?
And then it made $354,804, not pounds.
So you got to be looking at the exchange rates in 1973. You got to be looking at inflation.
We got to be looking at.
Does inflation? That's the thing. Is inflation's different country to country, isn't it?
Like, does inflation work in Britain? You don't know. On the Scottish Isles, like you go to a place where it's just heathens walking around, like surely nothing's inflating except like what's in their pants. And we'll get into that. So let me give you the synopsis and we'll jump right into this. This is a real short synopsis because we're gonna get into it. But Sergeant Howie, you know, we had Captain Howdy last week. We got Sergeant Howie this week. Arrives on the small Scottish island of Summer Isle to investigate the report of a missing child. And we're here. Vincent, this, many of the films that we've been doing lately have been recommended by the great David.
David, who's one of our patrons. So if you would like to recommend a movie, you don't even have to pay because it's a 7-day free trial.
You don't. That's right. You can go and you can recommend 10.
So you can sign up 7 days for free, watch everything, immediately forget everything, and then it's like nothing ever happened.
And we will have to do whatever you say.
Yeah.
Because we work for you. You're
right.
paying us. We work for you on the Patreon.
That's right. We're on the payroll.
Man.
But yeah, this one was recommended to David. So I'm not going to say thank you, David, as of yet. We'll get to that maybe a bit later.
Well, it was recommended because we talked about Midsommar.
We didn't talk about that. You talked about that.
Well, but we had a conversation. You weren't just sitting there looking at me with your mouth open, like drool coming out.
That could have been something.
You know, some people would say we would be sitting here with drool coming out of our mouths, but we weren't. And then David said, you know, in the same vein, The Wicker Man is something that I think that you should watch. And you know what? We did that today. We're going to talk about it.
We absolutely watched this movie.
Now, we are going to watch Midsommar next week as well because, I love, you know, you love to see Vincent in this uncomfortable state.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
And if you're uncomfortable in this movie, you will love Midsommar.
Oh, is it better or worse than this?
I feel that it's a much better movie.
Yeah, okay, but
and it's also much better at making you feel uncomfortable.
Jeez.
There's not as many naked ladies slapping on walls.
I don't want any naked anything.
What about one of them skinny cows like that? You know, them naked sort of. What are those things called? They're called naked something. I think they're non-alcoholic drinks that I'm thinking of. Skinny cows is like a low calorie ice cream. You know, the fuses are crossed here. The wires they're all over the place. But the Midsommar movie I think is far better, but also far more uncomfortable. And it's also 2020s, 2019's very own. So
that was
looks
recent.
good.
That was recent.
You know,
this movie, actually, that was one thing that I thought was funny about this movie is sometimes it cut to a scene and I think, is this the same movie or have they just because the colors were completely different from scene to scene.
Right.
But I mean, this is 1973's very own.
And
if you've got $500,000 budget, the colors are going to add up. If you've got 417, maybe not.
And we also, when we do certain movies and we get them from particular streaming services, you don't necessarily know which version of that movie are you watching.
Yeah, because I did see that there was a director's or the final cut, which was longer, so I didn't watch that one.
So, we watched The Exorcist last week. We didn't actually watch the 2000s cut. We watched the original cut.
Yeah,
and they are different movies.
Yeah, that's right. And some people on this podcast should have said like they should just cut the whole thing.
They should just cut the whole thing.
They should just cut the whole thing.
That's right. And maybe that's what's going to happen with the Wicker Man. So the idea is this very heavily influenced by Christianity sergeant goes over to this island in which just everyone's living that heathen lifestyle. There's, you walk out the door, there's sex happening. You walk in the door, there's sex happening.
This is such a weird movie.
The thing is, here's what I want to say about the Wicker Man straight off the bat. I don't think that what made this movie not as successful in my mind, not from a financial perspective, because like they made some money, they may have made a lot of money, they may have made a little bit of money, depending on what the budget was. But what made it unsuccessful in my mind, because I'm a quality podcaster, but also reviewer at this point, is that they jumped right into the wildness. Initially, like they had some subtleties of wildness. The sergeant rocks up to the island. He's on the prop plane. He jumps in. He gets a tugboat, and heads are there saying like, "Hey, we've never heard of this lady before." There's people peeking through their windows. You can tell that there's some weirdness going on this island.
You wish it ramped up a little bit slower.
Well, that was fine. But then, 5 minutes later, he's at the pub and he walks outside. There's about 18 people having sex in a graveyard.
That was.
There's a lady who's doing it on the grave. And I'm not saying there's a man there. I'm saying it's the lady and then there's the grave.
Yeah, jeez.
Whatever she was doing, like wherever she was at mentally was, they had to take her somewhere else. They had to take her off the island to help that.
They just took her off the island, just dropped her in the ocean.
That's as soon as that hit, I'm like, okay, so we're jumping right into this. This is like the podcast where we
talk about corn rigs and barley rigs, and then we were there.
If they hit you with some subtleties, and that's what I think that when we watch Midsommar next week, it does that very well. I mean, the first scene is quite a harrowing scene, but then after that, it sort of leads you gradually into the world of craziness.
See, this movie, I think the first kind of maybe 45, maybe the first half of this movie, I was watching it, and it was as weird as it was intriguing because I was interested in where it was going. But I mean, at one point, I think when there was like the dancing on the wall, I think that was when I thought, nah, that's it.
So there is a scene where
I just looked at something else for a good 10 minutes.
And I mean, look, that's fair enough. You can look at something else. That's fine. You can do. It's your prerogative. Brittany said it. But here's the thing. So that is just, again, this is another wild scene. The sergeant books into a hotel. This sergeant, the issue that I had with him, he goes to an island where he's by himself.
Yeah.
He's the only man there that is from wherever he's from. He's the only police officer there that is a part of his, squad. If you're going into a place where you don't know the people, you don't know the culture, you got to tread like softly. You know what I mean?
There's a murder.
And there's a murder potentially.
Potential murder.
You got to tread softly. You can't be going into a bar and yelling at people saying, "I can't believe you buffoons are dancing around in here."
Yeah, but to be fair, he's a man of God.
He's a man of God.
He'll do the responsorial psalms at the start of the movie, and he'll go to an island of pagans, and he'll do that, and he'll go, well, the Lord is my shepherd, and then he'll burn to death. And that's sometimes what happens when you mess with heads on an island.
Especially like when you go to a culture that is far different from yours and you start trying to make changes.
Brother, as soon as what's his name? Christopher Lee's talking about, we worship the old gods here, I would have been gone.
I'd be like, let me just jump on that prop plane real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to get? there's this pagan book back at the house. I'm going to bring that. And dude, we'll read it together.
Jeez, hold on. I think I've got more gods on another island. I'm gonna ask them to come over here, and we can celebrate them all.
Like you got the sun god over here. I got moon over here. This island of the left, I got moon.
Let me tell you, there were moon gods in this movie.
There was moon gods. I was only looking
moons.
at the sun. I was looking at the sun god, wasn't I? Because at the end, they're praying directly to the sun god for some crops.
I'm talking about like people's backsides.
Oh, there was moons, man. There was full moons.
Yeah.
There was half moons. Like there was everything. And one of the scenes, the scene that Vinny looked away from, is one of the funniest scenes I think I've seen in a while. Because what's his name? He's a God-fearing man. He's a man, Sergeant Howie, he's a man of God.
Yeah, he's engaged to be married.
He's engaged to be married. So he can't be out here fooling around, One, you shouldn't be just out here fooling around if you're engaged to be married, but also as a man of God.
Yeah, and
you can't be out
he's
here
saving
fooling
himself for marriage.
That's right, And she's coming up to him. So he's in the hotel, and the owner of the hotel's daughter is sleeping in the room next door, and she just starts singing, and she starts slapping on the walls, and she's dancing.
Yeah,
and there's a full moon out. And Sergeant Howie, he's sweating, dude. He's sweating in his full pajama piece. He's got the silk up top and the silk down bottom, and he's still sweating because he's being seduced by the lady next door
through the wall, which is,
if you've ever seen a movie in which seduction has happened through the wall, comment down below because I haven't seen it before, and this happened in this movie. When that happened, I thought, okay, are we in for a hilarious and fun ride? But then I think there was just after that scene, there was a really long period in which it was quite a lot of nothing.
What happened after that? Was that when he was going, all right, I'm leaving?
That's when he started investigating. He goes to the king of the leader of the thing. He starts talking to people, and really he's going up to for maybe 45 minutes. This is only an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 40 minutes, this movie. For 45 minutes, he's going up to people calling them heathens.
Yeah, and he's reading books. He's reading books. There was a time where he was reading. I do think there was a bit too much explanation.
Yeah.
Because he's reading the books. He's going, oh, there's going to be a dude dressed as a horse. There's going to be a man dressed as a woman. There's going to be some of those guys are going to be like Rumpelstiltskin or whatever the dude's name is.
Because he's looking at, because he knows that there's going to be a sacrifice that potentially could be happening very soon. So he's reading the books to see like who's being sacrificed. Is it this lady that's gone missing?
Yeah.
Is it going to be me? Turns out it's going to be him.
Turns out he didn't read that far.
He didn't read that far. He saw Rumpelstiltskin. He stopped and he said, "This is as far as I can read." But he's in the library. Not only is he reading it inside his head, so us the
then he's
viewers,
reading it to some old lady next to him.
If I'm trying to do investigations and I'm wanting to stay on the up and up and not be burnt in a Wicker Man.
But he doesn't go around this subtly.
No.
He goes into the school. He goes, "Hey, have you guys seen this kid? Why is their desk not? Let me see the records." And he's just abrasive from the get go.
Like, where's the warrants?
Where's the warrants? But you're a man of God, and you go into this place and you think there's just like phallic symbols everywhere.
Yeah, dude. There's penises everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, you don't see one real one, and that's a shame. We've talked about this before. But free the penis is what we're trying to say here on this podcast.
I'm trying to say I don't really want either party's nudity on.
Yeah, but it's our natural, and like when you're a pagan, you'll do our natural things in the graveyard.
But I'm someone who will get uncomfortable.
You're someone who will be wearing you'll be fully clothed at all times.
Absolutely.
You're in the shower with the jeans on.
I'm in the shower with the jeans. I'm in the shower looking like Justin Timberlake with the full jean suit on.
With the hat as well.
And
I
don't want to get my hair wet.
That's exactly right. I think that this movie is quite... it's eventful, but I don't think it's an exciting or enjoyable event until the end of the movie. I quite enjoyed the final piece. I don't mean the end of the movie, when credits rolled and, barley rigs and corn rigs started playing, because that was a hitter.
That did slap, yeah.
But when the last bit is he makes his way into this final ritual. That
was hilarious, watching him with the mask on. And you could just tell he's like, what have I got myself into? Because
everyone's wearing masks and they're walking to some area, a cliffed space next to the water, and everyone's jumping around, they're hollering, they're hooting, and he's walking like nothing's happening. Again, this guy needs to adapt. I know he's a God-fearing man, but that doesn't mean you can't holler and hoot dressed as Rumpelstiltskin. You could do that, but he doesn't. I mean, it was also hilarious seeing Christopher Lee just walking around because he's dressed. The thing is, there's a horse that's chasing a woman, but it's a man dressed as a woman, so that the horse doesn't really know who the right woman is. So then the Mayflower girl can be saved. There's some weird ritual that's going on.
Okay,
but
so you got more from that narrative that he read in the book than me.
Yeah,
because I just said there's a horseman, there's a man woman, there's a Rumpelstiltskin.
There's a Rumpelstiltskin,
and then we're here, and then we've got corn rigs and barley rigs. And
he's just walking through. I mean, you put me in that piece, and we're going to talk about later. How I'm going to get out of this.
While I was watching the end bit, because spoilers for the Wicker Man, like there's nudity, and there's also like man's getting burned alive in a Wicker
man.
Yeah. When I was watching that part, I was going, I'm going to hear about how Apo's going to get out of this. I'm going to hear about all the tactics,
dude. There's tactics, and we'll get into them in a little bit. But essentially, he goes to this thing, and he's seen all these little bits of this ritual happen, and he finds the girl that is gone missing.
Because he thinks that she's going to be sacrificed.
Yeah, she thinks
because they didn't make any apples, so they got to sacrifice someone.
They need some corn rigs. They need some barley rigs.
Well, I mean, I think they've got the corn rigs and barley rigs,
but they haven't got the corn or the barley. Yeah,
I don't even know what a corn or a barley rig is.
It's a slapper of a song though. Like, put it on your workout playlist. Like, you'll sweat, just like Sergeant Howie was when he was in that bedroom. Yeah, so eventually what it turns out to be is a big ploy by the town to put this man and grab him and put him in the Wicker Man to be sacrificed.
Yeah, they got the checklist. They're going, you're a virgin, you're a God-fearing man, you came here of your own volition, you're 5'8". Like, they got the checklist. We're burning you. To the stake, at the stake or whatever.
At the Wicker, I'm assuming.
At the Wicker.
With a bunch of cows, a bunch of chickens in there. There's all these animals in there as well.
I'm just thinking, how did they get those cows up there?
Because the cows weren't.
The cows are up on the shoulders.
Yeah, dude.
That's a fair way up.
How did they make this Wicker Man and put cows in it? Like, just in the movie. Like, I'm saying the production team.
I mean, the production team would have forklifts and things like that.
Yeah.
They'd have those cherry pickers.
They'd have some cherry pickers. And I'm assuming the Wicker Man is not entirely wicker. Because I'm assuming wicker means sticks.
Yeah, wicker is that kind of...
Yeah. So, you put a cow in the wicker, right? Cow's falling through that wicker. Heavy set cow? Not skinny cow like the ice creams?
Mate, if you get a heavy set cow, that's going straight through the wicker.
And I mean, it was bad produce that year, so maybe like they didn't have many heavy set cows that year.
I mean, maybe there weren't enough corn rigs and barley rigs to feed the cows.
That's right. But yeah, they did a good job with the Wicker Man.
It looked good.
And Christopher Lee was doing Christopher Lee things. My biggest qualm again with this movie is that you got a man like Christopher Lee in here, and he's a subtle actor. He's doing subtleties in this movie. He's not out there just being the maddest of men.
Yeah, I didn't think he was particularly good in this movie.
That's what I'm saying. They could have done more with Christopher Lee, a man who's genuinely killed people. You know that, right?
Because he was in World War.
He was in the war. He was in one of the wars.
Yeah, see, that is disappointing because in a movie like this, he was composed for a lot of the movie because he's going like, this is business as usual.
BAU.
But towards the end, I was hoping that there'd be a bit of all right, here we go. Here's Lord Summer's Isle.
Yeah.
He's here.
He's here. He just never arrived, man.
He just never arrived. It was just, hey, we're going to burn you. Yeah. Like, sorry, brother. I'm looking at the checklist. You tick all the boxes. I couldn't even give you one for like, you had a slight mustache. If you had a slight mustache, then we couldn't have burned you.
You're too cleanly shaven, brother.
But you're too cleanly shaven. Like, you're here. You brought the shaving amenities.
That's exactly right.
And I'm looking at he should have just gone. He's just gone wild and just started chanting things.
He should have gone wild. And also, I think what was great, the part that I did love about the final aspects of this movie when Sergeant Howie is going to be sacrificed, is that he starts going mad. So, as you would, right? Sergeant Howie starts going mad.
But he doesn't go mad enough.
One of the parts that I do love is when he's pointing and he's saying, if this doesn't work for me, you got to kill him next year.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, nah.
Like, he's telling us who we're killing. So, I mean, if he says him, we'll do it. But like, if he says someone else, like, I'm going to have to kill the other person. But I thought that was great. And, you'd love to see what happens next. Like, imagine if there's fruits coming and they're thinking, well, look, next time a virgin comes, bro, we're lit for the next year, you know? And he's going to be lit in the Wicker Man.
That's right.
Let's talk about how I would have got out of this.
All right.
Okay? And
Let me just talk about quickly.
Yeah, talk about quickly.
Sergeant Howie. They were reading him all the things. He was just standing there like a stun mullet. He could have at least tried to escape.
Like, even just like
but not even
a bit of a battle.
Before when he come out of that cave hole.
Yeah.
And he's going, hold on. And then they're reading him his rights. Hey, this, and this.
He realizes he's been duped.
They're telling him. It's like when the villain tells the evil plan right before they're about to execute it.
Yeah.
That's when you do things. That's when you make the move.
100%.
Sergeant Howie, let's dip, duck, dodge, dive, and dodge. You know, he's just standing there listening like, well, they've got me. I am all these things.
Yeah.
I did shave this morning.
Damn. You know, if he had been seduced by that lady, he'd still be alive today.
Because he wouldn't have had time to shave because he would have slept in.
He would have slept in. Because how you gonna wake up early enough to shave after that? You know, you're going out, you're seeing people in the gravesites, then you come back in, that's happening in your own bedroom. Like, how are you going to do that? Yes, that's right. In that moment, he could have done more. Even just being like, dude, I'm jumping off this cliff, like, to find, like, you know, to just swim away from here. Because they're on a cliff edge, and that comes into my next point of how.
Yeah, but you can't escape that. There's just rocks there.
Brother, listen.
No, do not tell me, brother, listen.
No. What I'm saying is, it comes into my later the fact that it's on a cliff edge, not the fact that he could jump.
You're just going to push
edge.
everyone over.
No. One guy's going over though. I planned this out.
I did like the him singing psalms and whatever, and talking about God and things like that. That was good at the end. Yeah. But you would have thought he would try to at least get himself out of there. He was just...
The last 5 minutes of this movie is the best part of this movie. Yeah. Like that part when he's just being placed into Wicker Man, things are going crazy.
But also there was no... He didn't even look like he wanted to get out of there.
No, exactly, because he's not built like you and me.
Well, he's definitely not built like you.
I mean, and you. Because like he's not an ethnic man like you.
No, he's not. But if I was in that position, I don't know what I'd be doing.
He doesn't shower with a full jean suit on.
But also, you get me out on a cliff like I'm rapid, bro. I'll be out of there.
Oh, dude, you're too fast.
I'll be out of there.
You think these people doing runs, man? Dude, you don't even need trail running shoes. You'd be running in your like Onitsuka Tigers. You know what I mean?
I'll be running in the Rumpelstiltskin gear.
You'd be running.
I'll leave the mask on.
Oh, dude, 100%. You want it to be harder to breathe just so you can work a bit harder.
That's exactly right.
That's right, because you put in that work.
I'll be there. I'll say, hey, hold on. I'll get my phone out. I'll go get the Strava up. I'm going to do one last run at least. I'm going to record it.
100%. And like you're in a vacation spot. So like people will look on Strava and be like, Vincent's in the vacation spot.
Yeah, but I don't have my map on Strava.
For that one, you might like go into settings though and just be like, this is my last one, so I'm doing the location.
Maybe.
Because like you want people to know where you are as well.
Hey, excuse me, we're trying to set you on fire. Sorry, I got to change my settings because this might be the last run I do. I got to show people that I'm in Summers Isle.
Yeah, dude. You know, it's a tourist. It could be a potentially good tourist spot for you.
That's right. You could get so many more God-fearing mans here.
Yeah, dude. Imagine all the victims you could have.
Imagine. You could have like 6, 7 Wicker men.
Dude, that's what I'd be saying if I was that God-fearing man as well. I'd be like, man, imagine how many Wicker men you could set up, bro. Look, I go to church every Sunday. I know a whole bunch of Christians.
You burn me, you'll get a few apples. You burn the whole church, brother, you're going to have an orchard.
Dude, I'll bring them over on the plane. I'll say, they pay $10. I'll take them over. They never come back. That's $10 in my pocket.
And that's making money as well.
That's making money. But, a God-fearing man wouldn't do that.
No, that's right. Anyway, tell us how you're going to get out of the Wicker basket.
All right, so, this is even before the Wicker basket. I'm
before. Out. You're already out.
When Sergeant Howard realizes he's been duped, he runs out of this cave hole. He sees Christopher Lee's looking at him. He looks, there's the whole township looking at him, right? So this is the whole township I'm going up against. And I'm coming out victorious, and I'll tell you why. Okay? I run up, right? No one's holding me.
You type in Big Daddy. Yeah. You get the car with the shooting missiles.
Dude, I'm out here doing Age of Empires business. That's right on him.
Like Julius would never.
Julius would never, but I would. I run out, right? Now, Christopher Lee, he starts reading Miranda rights. He's doing all those things. I'll say, simples. Yeah, cool. Bang, spider kick. He's off the cliff, right? I run up to the lady that was naked in the room, She had a knife on her. I grabbed that knife. I run up to the biggest dude in the town. Yeah, I get him, right? I'm moving around. I'm ducking, dodging. I'm just stabbing him in different places. Now, he's the biggest threat of the city. Of the township, he's the biggest threat. Next, I go for the man with the harp. There's a man with a harp. I grab that harp. I knock him out. And I just start going at people.
I knock him out just because I don't like harp.
Because everyone else, who's everyone else? We've seen that man earlier in the movie that's singing when they're twisting around that pole. And then we see a bunch of like drunkards. I'm taking out at least 6, 7 drunkards quick. Right, I'm going for the knees with these people.
So are you going up, you're going, piece by piece, you're fighting every person in this town?
Except for the women and the children.
Okay. What about the old heads?
100% they're going, man. Dude, they're going, and I'm going to do them when I've had like a bunch of, like, I'm tired, I go for an old head, like get my energy back. And then I go for the next one.
But
you know what I mean?
What's going to stop them from, they're not taking a number. They're not at the deli like, 89? Yeah. And you smack them in the face.
Let them come, is what I'm saying. Let them come at me. I got a knife and half a harp. Because the other half's in that man's head back there, right?
What are they going to do? I got a knife and half a harp.
Now what I do is, right, when it starts to build up to they're coming for the numbers, I go back towards the cave hole, 300 style. They have to come one by one through the cave hole.
Well, that's tactics.
And there's just bodies building up in the cave hole. And I'm like, jump over the body. Come on, brother. Jump over the body. I can't let them come to me, By the end of it, it's just women and children. And I say to the women, hey, you better start slapping on some doors right now. Or you better start getting me some petrol. They get me some petrol, I get back on my plane. You better get me some petrol. I get back on my plane. And I get out of there. Or I just get on a boat. I take a couple of days.
You take the dinghy.
I enjoy myself. I got blood on my hands, but I got love in my heart because I'm going back to see my fiance.
And you're going back to saying the responsorial psalm. The priest said, hey, the response is this. And you hadn't said that response. You got to go back and
say that. You got to go back and say that. See, the thing is, I know that it's the 70s, and I know that, he might be from a little town. This is Sergeant Howie. But surely as a police officer, you've dealt with some drunkards that you've had to work your way through.
Surely he's done some Brazilian jiu-jitsu in this time.
And it might have been Scottish jiu-jitsu at that point for him.
Yeah.
And Scottish jiu-jitsu might be like you drink the, I don't know, I was going to say you drink the Guinness, but that's Irish.
Yeah.
And, you say something about Scotland that means to be about Ireland, like you have a mad dog on your hands. But let's get into the ratings of this, and then we'll get into the end of this. Well, what did you rate this movie?
I don't know, like a 2, 3.
Dude, this is a straight up 3 for me.
This is a rough movie.
Like, you're rating this the same as The Exorcist, which is beyond me. And beyond Mad Dog, our friend as well. Friend of the show, Mad Dog.
But see, the thing is, I enjoyed this movie in parts more than I did The Exorcist. Because I was intrigued by what this movie was. Whereas The Exorcist was The Exorcist was just straightforward. We've got four comments on the last video that will tell you otherwise. Yeah, but they didn't even watch that video.
Yeah. They could have watched 5 minutes of the video. They would have seen me say, "This is one of my favorite movies of all time."
Yeah, that's right. But they saw the title, and that's just playing into the algorithm.
And let me just tell you one thing: The Exorcist still stucks.
It's still stuck. Yeah.
It's up because it's stuck. That was the Wicker Man, and this has been the Back Catalogue.
Talk soon.